How's it going, everyone? Hope your week is going well so far. We've got a couple things I want to talk about today. The first one being a PSA public service announcement for our Saab Arizona yearly meet that is coming up here very, very soon. I'll get to that in a second. And after that, I also am going to need your help, hopefully locating some parts for my Classic 900. I'm going to explain that in more depth here shortly as well after I talk about the meet. That's really the main reason why there hasn't been any content on the 900 is because I've been waiting on these parts and it just keeps dragging out and dragging out. Thirdly, one item I want to mention here before I get into discussing our yearly meet and the details of it is I'm not quite sure I'm going to be able to respond to YouTube comments anymore. Just with my work schedule, everything I've got going on with all the cars, my social life, all that, I really have almost no energy to film YouTube videos, period. And secondly, responding to comments, as much as I like to do and I like to hear your feedback and questions you have, unfortunately, it's just one of those things that takes another couple hours out of every week of my life, and I have to cut it out. So please keep commenting. I am still going to read them. I'm just probably not going to be able to respond to many of them, if any. But thank you guys all for your continued support. As always, if you have questions or anything about mods I do in videos or general questions, please hit me up on Instagram. That's still the best way to contact me. Without further ado though, let's go ahead and talk about our Saab Club of Arizona meet. So this is a meet we host once a year, right around this time in the fall when the weather finally cools down. And well, it's late October, early November, so it's time again for that meet to happen. So we're going to be hosting it at IMM Auto Service once again. That is located in Tempe, Arizona. It is the best Saab shop that we have in the Phoenix metro area. The last couple of yearly meets have been hosted there. Tuan and his family have been very generous to have the meet there, provide food, beverages, things like that. And on top of that, this year, we're also going to be doing some raffles that include IMM gift cards, possibly some other gift cards as well, and gas cards, things like that. So that should be a lot of fun, very exciting. The meet is going to be held from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Saturday, November 12th. I'll put the address and all the information for the meet on the screen right here. We do have an official page for it. If you are interested in going and are not a member of our club, please DM me on Instagram. I will also link the Facebook event page at the top of the description so you can check it out in more detail. But again, highly recommend coming. Last year and the year before, we had about 60 cars. We already have about 60 people that have said they're going this year. And of course, more people show up than actually respond to the event. So I fully expect there to possibly be a new record. If you don't live in Arizona or anywhere near here, but you want to come, of course, you are still welcome to come. We have a couple people flying out from the East Coast. We have some guys from Colorado driving down, a couple people from California, Nevada, places like that. So it'll be well worth the drive. We're going to make a fun day out of it. So again, Saturday, November 12th, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. at IMM Auto Service in Tempe, Arizona. There'll be food and beverages, and we'll be doing a raffle as well. In a perfect world here, I would be bringing the Classic 900 to this meet. That's kind of been my goal all along, was to have this car looking pretty nice, good to go for the meet. As you can tell right now, it's kind of all disheveled, both cosmetically, exterior-wise, and of course, interior-wise as well. I'll get to what's going on with the bumpers here in a second, but I want to talk about why I need everyone here's help. Now, by the time this video has gone live, hopefully the parts I need have finally been located and shipped to me. If so, I'll update with a pinned comment to let you guys know. But I'm currently trying to fix the speedometer issue in my car. So you guys might remember the speedometer kind of wiggles really fast, and as soon as you start moving, it kind of just bounces all over. It doesn't work as it should. I did source a new speedometer. We tried that one out and plugged in the speedo cable. Sure enough, it worked as it should. So that's how I narrowed it down, that the speedometer cable is not my problem. It's actually the gauge itself. So some very unfortunate issues with this, I guess you could say. First off, the new one I sourced, you'll notice, is very slightly different. This one says W equals 1008. This one does not say anything like that. So this is the current one in the car. This was the new one that I got, was a W equals 1008. I basically took all these apart, and there will be a video on this eventually when this finally gets fixed. But long story short, although these all look identical, front and back, minus this little writing right here, the gears and everything inside of them that I needed to transplant into this one are different and don't work. So basically my options are to either find one that does not have the W equals 1008, which I believe the manual ones came with this. The automatics came with this one here. So I think that's why I'm having such a hard time finding these. I have checked all over. I've called a lot of parts places. They've kind of been iffy on getting back to me. And if they do have one, it might be different. I posted in the 900 group with not much luck. I do have one that someone that has supposedly had one, and I've been kind of waiting on them to ship it out for 3 or 4 weeks now. So fingers crossed they do come through, and this is all for nothing. But in theory, unless I can find a W equals 1008, that's basically the same mileage I have, which is right here, 107,786. I'm going to need to pull apart the new one that I get and basically swap the guts between it from this one, because the odometer still works in my current one, but it's the actual speedometer thing in the back. Yeah, I'll put a picture on the screen here. That's the part that's broken in this. So this might sound like a whole lot of nothing, not making much sense, and unless you're familiar with these, which I've unfortunately become very familiar with, it probably does not make much sense. Second is my fuel gauge issue. So you guys might remember my fuel gauge also does not work. I do have this cluster out of an SPG from the junkyard, a 91, so you can see it is slightly different if you compare these two. So I plugged this one in temporarily. The fuel gauge worked on this one. So again, that's how I know that the actual gauge in the cluster is bad and it's not an issue that's related to the fuel pump. So I've got that going on here. I'm also trying to source one of these that's identical. Again, I've had a lot of people hit me up saying they have them, but they either look like this or they look different than this one even. So it needs to be completely identical apparently for it to work. So I'm kind of stuck in the water on that as well. That's why this is all torn apart. This one was all torn apart. I tried swapping the boards between the two, and there's some issues with that as well. So I pretty much need a whole new turbo, fuel gauge, and temperature gauge, and a whole new speedometer that's not W equals 1008, or one that is W equals 1008 and it has very, very similar mileage. Even if it's off by like 5 or 10,000 at this point, I don't care. I just need to get the car back together. And at this rate, as you can probably tell, I still haven't put together the rest of the interior for this reason, because I'm still trying to sort this whole thing out. So I'm at this point not confident that this car will make it to the meet. My goal is to have it make it to the meet, but we'll see. If I come out back here, you'll see what I've got going on with my 900 bumpers. I mentioned a long time ago that I was going to try restoring these because the paint was kind of rough on them. There's a lot of imperfections, things like that. So that's kind of what I'm in the middle of right now. Basically about halfway through this job, Lucas and I picked up the new project, which if you guys haven't seen that video, click up here in the top corner to check that out. But I'm kind of like halfway through the prep at this point. For that, I still have a lot more sanding to do, and then I have paint and primer to go on here. So there'll be a whole video on that as well. I'm not sure I'm gonna have time to get all this back together before the meet, even if everything else does work out well. Fingers crossed. Maybe there's a shot I do, but I think I'm probably gonna have to end up taking the 9.3 to the meet. So there you have it, guys. That is pretty much a summary of the last month on what's been going on with the 900. I'm starting to get pretty stressed out about it at this point. I just need to get the car back together because this is holding up literally everything coming content wise with this car. I really need to get this figured out. So if you do have any leads on those parts or any questions about what I asked, please let me know, preferably via Instagram, but if you don't have Instagram, email is fine as well. Both those are in the description box. I hope to see some of you at our meet here very shortly. Again, November 12th, Saturday at IMM Auto Service in Tempe from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. But with that being said, guys, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Take it easy.